Sometimes in life we just suffer. Sometimes it's from being totally withdrawn, or so much stress that we are totally anxious, or so tired that we are totally burnt out. But our current position is not our final destination. No, indeed. There's hope. So whether it's your personal life, your career, your relationship, your business, or your job, we say there's reason to believe again. And we present from Andy's personal development, the breakout room. It's the place for health, happiness, and prosperity. Stay tuned for more.
Hey, and welcome to this episode of the Breakout Room. We are live and we have a special guest to share with you guys today. I hope that all is well with you for the holiday season. Don't spend too much and don't do too much extra because, we can find ourselves really exhausted and caught up in all the hype and the commercial experts that they're looking for your money, your franchise, your business for this holiday season. Choose wisely. Okay, remember our watchwords are health, happiness, and prosperity. This episode is entitled Space, the Audiobook Frontier with Robert A. Lane. And we're going to meet our expert, our core competencies individual in a minute. So let me just tell you a little bit about Robert A. Lane. He's an audiobook coach, producer, and a transformational speaker. He says after working 30 plus years in the entertainment industry, he founded Robert Lane Coaching in 2020 as a career and life coach, then expanded his business to help nonfiction authors narrate their own audiobook by creating the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, getting authors, published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books in 6 weeks. Wow, amazing. All nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobooks. No one on this planet can replicate you. Not another narrator, and definitely not AI. I love that the most. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest, Robert A. Lane, live in the breakout room entitled Space, the Audio Frontier with Robert A. Lane. Robert, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Andy. It's a privilege to be here on your podcast. I appreciate it.
It's a privilege to have you, and we appreciate you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those who will be joining us live and for those who will be seeing this episode later, please remember that this guy is the ultimate audio book expert. Amazing. So, Robert, tell us a bit about yourself in a nutshell and what you think really describes you the most with regards to your core competencies and your skill as an audiobook coach and producer.
Sure. My career basically started. I've worked 30 plus years in the entertainment industry. When that was over, I had to reinvent myself and do something. I knew I didn't want to go back to the corporate world. I had enough of that. So I wanted to do something that I felt would be more fulfilling and had more purpose to help people.
Yes.
So I started Robert Lane Coaching first as a career life coach. And with the experience that I had working in the entertainment business, taking those experiences and being able to help others in any type of job that you have to be able to navigate through any work environment, no matter what it is, to help people that way.
Mm-hmm.
Which led to me writing my book, which is called Lights, Action, You,
Mm-hmm.
where I took a variety of stories and experiences from the entertainment business, but with each story is a life lesson, a tool or a technique to, to help somebody who reads the book. So what happened after I published the book is that I had other authors approaching me because I am an audio guy, and so they were like, "Hey, can you help me turn my book into an audiobook?" And so I took Robert Lane Coaching and expanded it, and then created the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program specifically to help nonfiction authors turn their book into an audiobook that they narrate in their own voice. And that's basically how that brought to where we are today.
Yeah, wonderful. And that's quite unique. Thank you for sharing, Robert. What I get out of that is the originality of having a nonfiction writer actually do their own audiobook. What is the basic concept behind that in terms of why is it so much more important to use their own voice to do their own audiobook? And how much more do they gain from that process as a result?
That's a really good question, Andy. The number one reason, of course, is when a nonfiction writer publishes their book, they've put their whole heart and soul into the story that they're telling. They lived it, they breathed it, they experienced it. So their voice technically is already in their written word. So when they narrate their own audiobook, they're just bringing it to life in their own voice. And the key factor is that no one can replicate that author. Your story is
Yes.
unique. Your author brand really encompasses everything about you, everything who you are, the way you were brought up, your personality, your sense of humor, your morals, your belief systems. All of that is part of your author brand, and especially your voice. So no one can tell your story better than you, because that's what makes you unique. I mean, you can get another narrator, a professional narrator, and they'll do a fantastic job. But again, it's their interpretation. It's not the author's. The author is the one who experienced that book that they've written, everything that they talk about. The other narrator didn't. So they're going to interpret their book in their way. So maybe they may talk about a concept, or, there's certain nuances that maybe the author would be, I wouldn't really say it that way.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah,
preserves the integrity of their author brand when they narrate their own book.
I love that. I love that. Key thing, preserve the integrity of the brand and the book and the author. I
Yeah.
love that. It makes so much more sense. Thank you for sharing, Robert. What are the two main components to create a compelling audiobook? And I stress on the word compelling because
Yes.
you're looking to get something out of that process.
Yes. For a lot of authors that have gone through my audiobook coaching program, one of the more common issues that we work on is
Hmm.
mindset. It's
Okay.
believing in your voice, because a
Ah,
lot of people say, "Oh, I hate my voice. I don't sound good. I know I
yeah.
don't have what it takes to narrate my own audiobook." And that is a false belief, because you do have what it takes. And your
Okay.
voice, no matter how unique it is, that's part of your author brand. And again, that is what allows you to stand out in the crowd, because that's part of your uniqueness. So that's one thing, is believing in yourself, believing in your ability to do a great narration. Another thing that we really dive deep in is focusing on who are you telling your story to. And it means more than just, oh, my genre is this, or my market is that. I want the authors to think about somebody specific. Like, who is the person that you're telling your story to? If you're sitting in a coffee shop with your best friend, or whoever that person is, and you have this great story that you want to tell them, that's how you want to look at it. You want to be very specific, because you want to create your delivery, your narration, to be very conversational. And not only conversational, but what's really important, Andy, is that you're authentic, being
Mm,
your authentic self.
yeah,
That's what makes a great audiobook.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I'm thinking about live audiences and live book talks. Is it something that you also recommend for authors, those particularly that we are now speaking about? And the reason why I ask that, Robert, is because you're talking about authenticity, you're talking about integrity, and just being able to connect with people from that particular aspect. What about having an audience before you doing the reading, and you're listening to the comments and responding to the questions in real time? How effective is that consistently with what you would coach for them to get out of the prospect of putting together an effective and efficient audiobook recording?
I think that when authors go out and they do book signings or they talk about their book to an audience, it's really a great way to build confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, even when they put a microphone in front of them, they get nervous.
Yeah,
Even if they're
yeah,
by themselves, sometimes they feel nervous, and so it is a great way to be able to uh, go out and share your story and feel comfortable and have that confidence that you know what you're talking about, you know what your book is. And I think a really important factor that I always mention to the authors when I work with them is always be tapped into that core reason of why you wrote this book in the first place. Why was it so important for you to write this book and put it out there for the world to read? And it's the
yeah,
same purpose, that same core that you want to tap into when you do your narration, because it's those intangibles, right? Those things that you can't physically touch, but you emotionally feel. The
yes.
energy, the emotion, your authenticity, your uniqueness. That's what makes a great audiobook, and that's what comes through. When you're tapped into that core purpose, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, wonderful. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier with regards to being able to be real,
Mm,
be authentic, but you also focus on mindset.
yes.
And I think that's a fundamental issue that a lot of people, Robert, struggle with, not just in terms of being an author, but life as a
Mhm.
whole. Would you say that some of the things that you have learned, particularly through the past 30 years, that you have developed and grown and become accustomed to, not only from a clinical perspective, but also from a practical day to day perspective, you're now using most of that to help these individuals that we are speaking about with regards to their audiobook process?
Absolutely. I think the tools and techniques that I teach them from the mindset aspect
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
definitely be applied to your life, your
Right.
personal life, your career. It really comes down to being focused, being in the present moment, having yourself mentally grounded,
Yeah.
uh, not worrying about the past, not worrying about things in the future. You really need to be
Yeah.
in the moment,
Yeah.
because you want to be in that zone. You don't want any other mental distractions. And of course, part of that is, again, confidence, believing in yourself, and knowing that you do have what it takes to do a great audiobook narration, because you really do.
Mm.
You don't need to be a
Yes.
professional speaker. you
Mhm.
can actually you can actually do this.
Yeah. Good, good, really good. So, in terms of the people that you coach, that you help, that come to you for this professional advice, what are some of the challenges that they express that they have when it comes to producing that kind of quality audiobook?
I think, again, we mentioned about confidence. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, it's like the root cause is fear, for
Oh,
for whatever reason, and that's where we talk about getting down to the root cause. Why Are you fearful? Like sometimes it is fearful of I won't sound good, or
Yeah.
maybe it's fear of I'm going to talk too fast, or I'm going to talk too slow, or I won't be consistent. But that's
Ah,
my job as a coach, is to help and guide you throughout the entire process to make sure that you are sounding great, that your delivery is great, that you sound authentic, that you do sound engaging, and that you're consistent, because you want to be consistent from opening credits to closing credits. You want that energy to be there. Those
yeah.
intangibles are so important, the emotion and the energy. And of course, we do talk about the practical aspects: mic placement, body posture, making sure you're hydrated, being in good health. And then we also talk about some of the other uh, mental aspects when you're recording your audiobook. What if you're having a bad day? What if you're making a lot of mistakes? It
Yeah.
happens. We're human.
Yeah.
This is life. This is
Yeah.
how we do it. But again, don't let that stop you from doing a great job. If you're having a bad day, you have a bad day. No problem. Step away. Give
Mm,
yourself time to refocus, and then
yeah.
go back to it, or maybe do it the next day. So that's some of the mental mindset techniques that I share with the authors, to not worry about being perfect. Be yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that, Robert. Thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate that. The word that I keep hearing is consistent.
Yes.
And I want to share something with us. And probably you can kind of elaborate on it after. It's just about 39 seconds. Here we go.
Here's your audiobook tip of the day: consistency. You want to make sure that when you're narrating your own audiobook that you're consistent from opening credits to closing credits. And what that means is maintaining the same level of excitement and energy, doing the same type of pacing, putting your stamp, your unique stamp on your delivery. Sometimes when you take a break from recording, you need to go back and just listen to what you have done before, so that you can match the same energy, so that there is consistency from beginning to end, because your listeners are going to love that. So remember, consistency is key. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I want you to elaborate on that a little, because I think it's actually one of the more critical aspects of being able to produce that quality audiobook that you referred to.
So when it comes to consistency, there are a couple ways of looking at it. You want to be consistent from a practical standpoint.
Hmm.
So what in my program, like, I supply the authors with the professional equipment that they need to set up their own recording space, and it's theirs to keep. It's part of the program.
Okay.
So I make sure they have
Okay.
a great microphone, great headphones,
Yeah.
and I teach them, how to set up their own space. So
Hmm.
once that's set up, then that's where consistency comes in from a practical standpoint. When you have everything sounding great, the mic is exactly where you need it to be. You have, a digital version of your book that you can read, that, where,
Hmm.
where your positioning is good.
Yeah.
You want to be consistent, and, sit or stand in the same place. Make sure everything is the same. That will
Hmm.
guarantee that for the most part, your delivery will sound consistent, will sound fine all the way through.
Right.
The second aspect, which of course I feel is really more important, of course, is the intangibles, the
Mm,
energy and the emotion. And that's where
yeah.
it is important to be in the right frame of mind before you even hit that record button. Again, mindset, grounding, focus in the present moment. If you're going to record a chapter, practice it before you hit the record button. Get yourself
Yeah.
refamiliar with your book, and then hit the record button. And then another thing that I do that helps authors with their consistency is, when you're in your zone, you're in your zone. You're sounding great. You're doing your thing. You may make a mistake, but that's
Mm,
okay,
yeah.
because my job, not only as your coach, but as your producer, is that as you record your audiobook, you're going to be sending your audio files to me to edit, clean up, and make sure that they meet the exact specifications for publication.
Yeah.
So if you make a mistake, pause, take the line again, and continue on. You don't get frustrated. You don't, have to stop and, go back and just let
Hmm.
it go, because my
Yeah.
job as an editor, don't worry about it. That's what I do. I'll fix it for you. Stay in
All
your
right.
zone. Focus
All
on
right.
your narration. That's what's important.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. I love it. I'm thinking, Robert, about the platforms that are available. There are so many platforms out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people are gravitating to Amazon, of course,
Uh-huh.
but they are alternatives, right?
Yes.
What would you suggest for a young and budding non-fictional writer to find a platform that would really embrace their brand and help them elevate that sense of awareness of who they are and what their writing is about?
Hmm.
Which platform would you think would be the most effective, or platforms, if
Mhm.
there are more than one, that they can put these audiobooks out and get that kind of feedback that would make them feel, hey, yes, I'm really accomplishing something?
When it comes to distribution platforms, you really do need to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple,
Right.
uh, because the general public knows that.
Mm.
And when people ask authors about, hey, they usually don't say, hey, do you have an audiobook? They'll say, are you on Audible? Can I grab your book on Amazon? So they're
Yes.
asking for your book by
Yes.
brand name. So it is
Yes.
important to be on that platform. But
Yes.
I do talk to the authors to find out what their marketing strategies have been with their book, what has worked for them, because there are, at least another 40 different distribution platforms that you can be on. So it's really knowing what is working for you. So if you maybe you've been selling your books on the Barnes and Noble website, or somewhere else, or maybe you distribute your book to libraries. Well, those are other distribution platforms that you can be on, and then there's Google and Kobo and Rakuten, and there's a
Wow.
whole list. I mean,
Yes.
there are tons, but
Yeah.
it's really important. My advice to authors is really think about what your marketing strategy is, because you don't just want to be anywhere and everywhere just because that may not be conducive to helping people know where to find you. It's
Hmm.
easier to say I'm on Audible
Yeah.
and people know exactly where to go, or I'm on Barnes and Noble. They know exactly where to go. Then say, well,
Yeah.
I'm on here and here and here and here and here, and it's just like, oh, it could be too much for people.
Yeah. 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 Robert, how long does it take practically to really get that production done and dusted and the editing and so on? Is it a long process, or do you have ways and means in which you can, slow down or either speed up the process so that you decide how long it's actually going to take?
Well, the audiobook coaching program I designed it to be 6 weeks.
Okay.
And
No.
that actually is doable. It doesn't sound like a lot of time. Maybe it does for some people,
Yeah.
no, but I mean, because you figure, let's say, for example, let's say you have a book that's, oh, trying to think of like a good number to pick here. Let's say you have a book that's like 40,000 words, for example.
Hmm.
On
Hmm.
average, it takes somebody about an hour to narrate roughly about 9,300 words. Okay.
Yeah.
So you divide 9,300 into 40,000, that comes up with about 4.3 hours of actual narration time. So when it
Right.
comes to recording your audiobook, you need to double that, because you want to,
Okay.
give yourself time for, mistakes and redos, or it's the process. It's the process of recording. Um, so that's one way of thinking about it. So let's say if your book is 40,000 words, uh, you should give yourself about 9 hours of actual recording time. You know,
Okay.
Obviously, if the
Okay.
book is longer, you give yourself more time. But the second part, Andy, is that when it comes to the editing, I listen to everything in real time when I do my audio
Hmm.
editing.
Mm-hmm.
There's some companies out there who will just run it through a program and it'll say, "Oh, it's all clean." But to me, that's not good enough because you really need to listen. Really need to listen. What if there's a word that's slurred or mispronounced? What if there is too much
All
space
right.
between one sentence and another, or maybe there's something that is too quick? What if there's a sound in the background that happened to be recorded that I'm not able to remove?
Yeah.
These are little subtleties that an editor really needs to listen to it in real time. So I probably
Yeah.
spend on average, I would say between 50 to 70 hours per
Mm-hmm.
book editing. That's just
Yeah.
editing.
Editing.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Wow.
because I want to
Wow.
make sure that it's the best that it can
Yeah.
possibly be.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Sounds a bit intense for me, but I guess if that's what it takes, that's what it takes, right?
Right.
So, yeah, Robert, I want to switch gears a little
Sure.
bit, and I'm going to put something up on the screen that I want you to definitely comment on because you would be so familiar with it.
Okay.
And tell us about the cover, the idea, and the term lights, action, you. Where did the inspiration come from for that?
Yes. Lights, action, you. I published this book. I think it just was 2 years ago now,
Okay.
and so I spent 30 plus years in the entertainment business, and
Mm-hmm.
people at first were asking me, "Oh, you should write a memoir. I'm sure you have stories about working in entertainment." And it's like, well, I guess I kind of do. So, but then at that time, I was doing my career coaching and life coaching. So I decided, you know what, I will write I guess a memoir in a sense, but I wanted to make it more valuable for people.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the entertaining story, but with each story, I have a tool or technique or a life lesson, things that I teach in the career coaching and life coaching space to help people so that it's like, here's a situation, this is what I went through, and this was the lesson that I learned. Here are the
Okay.
tools that you can utilize if you're ever in a similar situation. So it goes talk about topics like missed opportunities, how to not miss opportunity, how to manage your time, how to have confidence, how to deal with bad bosses, how
Right?
to
Yeah.
uh, being in a very stressful situation, how do you deal with that? So again,
Hmm.
so here's the story, here are the lessons that I've learned, here are some tools that can help you. And that was the
Yeah.
basis of the book.
All right, great. So it's had been out for about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What has been the general feedback from people who have read the book? What are the things that they have said to you, Robert?
Um, People seem to really enjoy it, which I'm glad. I think people enjoy the stories that I have to share, which is great. I think a lot of people have learned a couple of things. One is about time management. When I talk
Okay.
about that's important. And then the other thing that I talked about when I had produced a film, and I talk about not being afraid to ask for help.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that seems to resonate with a lot of people too, because we all
Yeah.
we all want to do things ourselves. We all want to hold on and have control of something, especially
Yeah.
from if
Yeah.
it's creative. But
Yes.
the lesson learned is don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to get other people on your team that can do things better than you, because the
Hmm.
overall result is that you're going to have a better product. I mean,
Yes.
it's similar with writing your book. When I wrote my book, I hired a book coach to help me because I knew that there was an expert who can help me
Yeah.
write a better book. And then there's editors and proofreaders and formatters and cover
Yeah.
designers and all
Yeah.
these other people. I'm not an expert in that, so I'm going to put a great team of people together who can help me create something that can be better than if I tried to do it all by myself.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, what an amazing background there, Robert. I don't want to second guess, but I'm thinking Arizona, Colorado,
You're right.
California.
It's Arizona. It's
There you
Sedona,
go.
Arizona.
There you go.
We got Bell Rock in the background, and over behind me in that picture is called Courthouse Butte,
Uh-huh.
and that's I consider that my backyard.
Wonderful. Exactly, exactly. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, great. So, is there a possibility of a sequel, or is there another book in the making for you, Robert?
I've thought about it.
Hmm.
I I'm not really sure if I want to do. I mean, I can write about the audiobook world, maybe do a book like that,
Uh-huh.
or I have a whole slew of stories. Being a musician, that's another thing I could talk about. So I'm not really sure at this time. I haven't been actively pursuing writing another book, but hey, that can happen.
Yep, definitely. So, Robert, we have a like from the audience. We appreciate that, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, there you go. As we continue with this episode, we just want to take a quick break,
Sure.
give Robert some time to catch his breath, and we're gonna get a word from our friend at findradioguest.com. They will help you promote your books, your podcasts, your expertise. If you want people on your podcast, they will provide experts in all the areas or genres in which you focus and work from a perspective with regards to speaking, writing, podcasting, you name it. They are my friends, and I just want to share a couple of seconds of their work and their information with the audience. Here we go.
FindRadioGuest.com, the place to click to find guests to interview for free. And if you're a radio show booker, podcaster, talk show host, or television producer, then this is the place to get podcasts and radio interviews or promote your books and products as a guest expert sponsor. FindRadioGuest.com. Check it out.
Okay, so you can get all the information you need at findradioguest.com with regards to promotion of your book, if you're an author or writer, your podcast show, your expertise. If you're looking to appear on podcasts or you want people to appear on your podcast, check them out. Our friends at findradioguest.com. So, Robert, I'm thinking about the influx and the influence of AI.
Hmm.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
But when I look at your information and I hear you speak, I know that you're not totally against AI, but because your focus is so much on originality and authenticity,
Mhm.
and the author being able to relate their own brand and their specific values to the audience, AI would play little or no role in the process. So then, if someone wants to use AI, what would be your advice to them, Robert?
All right. If you are a nonfiction author and you have a book and you're thinking about turning it into an audiobook, and you're like, well, I can just get it, AI generated voice to do it.
Hmm.
Number one thing, you're cheapening your author brand.
Wow.
You're cheapening your author brand because remember, this is your story. AI
Hmm.
is not even a real voice. It,
Yeah.
it it is not an accurate representation of who you are. You have just stripped away your authenticity. And so if someone, let's say you're a coach and you've written a book, would you have AI teach your coaching program? It doesn't make sense, right?
Uh,
It's
yeah.
your program. You have your unique style of how you
Yeah.
teach. If you're let's say you're a weight loss coach, and there's 100 weight loss coaches who've published books, let's say. But what makes you stand out? You,
Yeah.
the author, your personality.
Yes.
People work with
Yes.
you because of who you are. Maybe all these coaches have the same training and they're equally qualified, but it's because of your personality, because of your uniqueness That's why people work with you. If you use AI, you've just stripped that away. You've
Hmm.
totally taken that away. And like we mentioned earlier in the show about preserving the integrity of your author brand, you've just thrown that out the window.
Wow.
One more thing that I want to add in
Uh-huh.
regards to uh, using your own voice is that you want to leave a legacy.
Okay.
It is your voice. So for generations to come, people can hear you tell your story in your own voice. And that's a wonderful thing. And that is such a great thing that we're able to do nowadays with modern technology. I mean, wouldn't it have been great to like have some of the great painters or artists from long ago past teach and tell their story in their own voice if that technology existed?
Yeah.
What a great
Yeah.
thing. What a great thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I get it. I hear you, Robert, because I know I've been listening. I've had several writers and people who are involved in this industry come on the podcast, and they fondly speak of the involvement of AI. And yes, it's a concern because, as you rightfully say, years after, when you look at your legacy and you realize that you have robbed yourself of that opportunity to have your original, authentic voice being on that audiobook, tape, video on YouTube, whatever it is, somehow it just does not have the same effect.
That is true.
And I get that. I get that. So let's just go off the track for a minute. How do you feel now that the Cardinals has finally won a game?
Well, I watch hockey, so I don't know.
Okay, okay. Good one, Robert. Good one. I love that.
Uh,
I love that. No, I've been looking at the NFL over, well, for the past 4 years. I've been really paying attention, and I see some teams finally getting some victories. The Jets finally won a game after four straight defeats, and the Cardinals finally won a game. So yeah, okay, great. So you're the hockey guy, no problem.
yeah. I mean, I
Oh,
watch football too.
yeah, I know, I know. Robert, what does the future look like for the work and the production of audiobooks?
Well, Andy, the audiobook world has been growing and expanding over the last several years, and it continues to grow and expand. Matter of fact, in 2019,
Uh-huh.
revenue from ebooks and audiobooks surpassed revenue from ebooks, and that gap
Wow.
continues to widen. So
Okay.
more and more people, no, I mean, not to say that you don't sell ebooks and hardcovers and paperbacks, you do, but more and more people are now going for audiobooks first. And then once they discover that author, if they like what they're hearing, they'll go back and they may
Mhm.
even get that ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So it
Yeah.
really is important for authors to be in the audiobook world because you're expanding yourself into a whole new audience that may not have even discovered you yet. So it's a great way to let people know that your author brand exists. This is how I sound. Here are my other products. It really is a
Hmm.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Dig in and take a listen.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And the thought process that I get from that simple statement is the way that people have become so busy now, and
Mm,
not necessarily in a good way. As a coach, you would understand that concept. We have come to the point where people are so caught up in doing stuff that instead of taking time to actually read, they would prefer to multitask.
yeah.
So whilst they're doing something, they punch a button, press a remote knob, and boom, the audiobook comes on. My only concern, Robert, is that while you're multitasking, you're probably gonna miss the essence
Well,
of what. Go ahead. I know you know exactly what I'm talking
oh,
about.
yeah, you're bringing up a really great point. There is one stat that I do want to share,
Uh-huh.
and that is the studies have shown that when someone reads a book versus somebody
Hmm.
who listens to an audiobook,
Yeah.
the comprehension and retention level is the same,
Wow.
which is a really great thing to know. Now, I do
Yes.
understand about multitasking. I am not a fan of multitasking. Matter of fact, I think I even talk about it in my book that the
Yeah.
multitasking, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
our brains are mega computers. So, you know, it works really fast. Now, if you compare that to a regular computer, for example, and you have all these things going on at the same time, it's fast. The processing is super fast, but in reality, it's going from one thing to another, to another, to another, back and forth and back and forth. Same thing happens in your own mind. So you're not really multitasking. What you're doing is you're jumping from one thing to another. And what happens is that your focus is not deep enough into that task that you're doing. So the quality suffers, mistakes are more common. So that's why it really is important to focus on one thing at a time. Now, I do understand, at least with audiobooks, you can, do some work around the house or yard work, or maybe you're traveling and you just listen to it in the car or on a
Hmm.
plane.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great. That is great because it gives you an opportunity to listen and enjoy your audiobook, um, and still do other things. But if it's like busy work or something that requires a lot of focus, you really need to focus on that one
Mm.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, absolutely correct. You're right about that. So, Robert, I'm just going to put some information up on the screen there, and I want you to tell people what is the most effective one in which they can make contact with you, and also how they can get a copy of your book.
Oh, sure, absolutely. First of all, RobertLaneCoaching.com is the simplest and easiest way to find
Mm-hmm.
out what
Mm-hmm.
I do. And with every author, I speak with every author before I enroll anybody into the program, because I feel it's
Okay.
really important to establish a relationship, because we're going to work with each other for the next 6 weeks. I want the author to resonate with me and vice versa. I want to resonate with them, make sure that they're comfortable, because a lot of the books that I work on are very personal. I had a book
Mm,
about a woman who went through uh, cancer and
yeah.
beating cancer, and that's a very personal story. I just finished a book with somebody who was pulled into a cult, and that's very intense
Yes.
and very personal. So again, this is why I work one-on-one with authors, because I want them to feel comfortable. So I do talk with the author first. We figure out what your marketing goals are, what you want to do, and then I get them enrolled. But the website is great, robertlanecoaching.com. There's a bunch of buttons there. It says book a call. It goes to my direct calendar. You will speak with me directly, and we'll talk about your book. You
Okay.
can follow me on LinkedIn, which is great. I post all the time on Instagram, and on YouTube. I post videos as well. Those are probably the best places, but they're all there on the website. So I think the website is probably the best place.
Yeah, yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Robert. We appreciate you as well. And you have been a very engaging guest
Thank
and
you.
given us tons of value with regards to Space, the audio book frontier with
Yeah.
Robert A. Lane. I would give you the opportunity, as we just have about 1.5 minutes, or just 1 minute actually, to wrap up, to say anything that you feel would make a difference to folks who are listening to this, whether they're interested in what you're saying or not. There's so much value in the content. I myself have learned a lot just by listening to you today. So I know that others will as well. What would you say as a parting statement based on your expertise?
I would say number one is always be your authentic self.
Mm,
Be your authentic self. Whether you're an author, you need to be your authentic self when you narrate your own audiobook. And the other thing is believe in yourself. Believe in
yeah,
yourself, have confidence in yourself, and just be you, because that's what makes you unique. And that's what allows you to stand out in the crowd, is your uniqueness. So just be
yes,
your authentic self.
yes. Wonderful. On that note, folks, we have come to the end of this episode entitled Space, the Audio Frontier with Robert Alien. Please go check his website at www.robertthecoachingcompany.com or his LinkedIn profile. All the information is there on the screen. Get in touch with him if you want to do an audiobook or you want to get a copy of his book. He's going to be available. You can book a call with him as well. He's going to sit with you one on one and make sure that you develop a relationship, and then he's going to work with you with his core competencies. So thank you so much, Robert. Please stick around for a while. As the episode ends, I'll just have one more question for you. But on behalf of Andy of Andy's Personal Development and Robert A. Lane, my guest, I'm saying so long. Godspeed, God bless. Thank you for your participation, and may you continue to achieve health, happiness, and prosperity. Bye for now, guys. Stay blessed, stay peace, stay in hope.